I'm Allendale's chief meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your midday weather update. Not a lot of change in the overall forecast setup right now. We're here in the midst of some drier weather. One surprise that I've seen developing here through the morning hours, slightly better moisture central to northern parts of Minnesota. So the upper Midwest, northwestern part of the Corn Belt seeing some better moisture. Most of it's on the backside of strong high pressure that's shifting across northern Wisconsin, settling over Lake Michigan. But I guess I just wasn't looking for quite the intensity that we've seen in a few spots up there. This is more of a warm frontal overrunning precipitation band, so I was actually looking for really light action. We'll see if it can hold together on into this afternoon. Even if it does, it's not going to be settling south very quickly, again, because it's warm frontal overrunning with a system that's moving east-northeast. That low right now is sitting over south-central parts of South Dakota, been responsible for a lot of cloud cover out that way. As we go forward, you know what? I don't see a lot of changes from what we've talked about before. That means in the Corn Belt, with the exception of the northwestern part, we're looking at another dry day probably as we go through tomorrow, with moisture working into the western Corn Belt late tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, and then across the rest of the Corn Belt on Friday. The initial wave of moisture, not super impressive to me, couple tenths to maybe 6/10 depending on where you're at, but it does kick off a period where we see decent circulation around a strong upper low. That low stays well off to the west, out in the foothills of the Rockies, the eastern parts of Wyoming, eastern Colorado, but it has a huge circulation that'll draw moisture off the Gulf and through the Corn Belt. So hit and miss moisture still a big part of my forecast as we go through this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Overall, Corn Belt wide, 1/2 to 2 inch rainfall totals. That's a huge range. I think most of us are going to be in the middle of the range, but computer models are still saying that there can be some heavier thunderstorms, maybe southwest Indiana, southern Illinois, Missouri, then maybe some spottiness across the rest of the Corn Belt as well. Those are the areas that we'd be worried about 2 inches or maybe even more with moisture right now. So it's a definite watch situation going forward. We are cutting the moisture off on Monday, and I do think we can put together 3, maybe 4 days of dryness through the rest of next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and potentially Friday. One thing that has not changed over the extended forecast period, we are looking at a fairly significant frontal boundary to come in for Memorial Day. If you were planning on celebrating Memorial Day, you're going to want to have to plan for the umbrella to be handy. If we were hoping to try and get some field work done through the Memorial Day weekend, it's going to be difficult. However, it does look like that might be a necessary evil, because that one front, that strong system coming through, now looks like it ushers in a development of an upper level ridge. I'm seeing some signs in the far extended part of the forecast. And again, this is the part where things can change real easy. So let's not count on this. Let's not tack it to the wall just yet. But I'm seeing signs that we could see an upper level ridge pattern start to develop after the 26th that would steer most precipitation away from the Corn Belt, maybe give us a nice 3, 4, 5 day dry window or more with normal to above normal temperatures. That would be what we would need as we'd finish out the month of May and go into June to maybe get everything done, put some things to rest here. So that's one thing that we're going to watch. That's one development that we really want to watch going forward. Between now and Memorial Day, I think our windows of opportunity are going to be tight. They're going to be limited. But maybe after Memorial Day weekend there, we can put together a nice little stretch. Also looking at temperatures, below normal here short term yet, but by next week, looking to be normal to above in most areas. Let's talk a bit about action back in the Central Plains as well. Don't want to rule out wheat country. Got good moisture rotating up through parts of the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle here this afternoon. Looks like this is going to steamroller north into eastern Colorado, but kind of fall apart once you get into the South Platte Valley up in northeast Colorado. We're looking at amounts probably 1/2 inch or less. But look late this afternoon and this evening for some strong thunderstorms to fire off from Texas through Oklahoma and into south central Kansas. And this rain event will then probably work through the day tomorrow. More rain coming in for the weekend. More rain middle of next week. Hard red winter wheat areas. And you know what? Spring wheat areas. Let's just say the entire plains going to be seeing very good moisture conditions over the next week to week and a half. Not so good for spring crop work, but for the wheat, this is going to be, I think, a nice little drink of water. And like I said, spring wheat even looking very good. We're so far ahead on planting there. The crop was going to use a nice drink for emergence and starting to get the good growth to it. I think we get that here over the course of the next week to, let's say 9 days. And that's the way things are stacking up. If you've got any questions on the weather, give us a call at Allendale. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.